Voodoo Donut Day in Vancouver. I didn't realize this. There are no Voodoo Donut locations in the entire state of Washington. But that will change this morning. 9 a.m., the grand opening of that spot right there, and preparations are underway for the new Voodoo in Vancouver.
All right, let's see if Rod can do a little of his weather voodoo and tell us about the forecast. Good morning, Rod.
That shop looks fancy inside, right?
It does.
A fancy donut shop. All right, here we go. The voodoo that Brenda's talking about. We have rain moving in right now. It's pretty steady up and down the coast. Salem, your rain's been picking up a little bit coming in to Portland. So we have wet weather the next couple of hours. And then this likely breaks up and starts to shift more to our north. We're at 43 right now with rain in the area. So we'll go showers and 40 at the bus stop this morning. But by the time we get to noon and then the kids get out of school, for those kids still going to the bus stop, it'll be about 53 degrees and mainly quiet later this afternoon.
Yeah, let's talk about school because you're right, Rod. As I've been saying, if you are a parent, you better have a plan for if and when your child's school were to temporarily close because it's happening more and more.
Yeah, more Portland area schools have announced to move back to distance learning, and some other local school districts are going that way too. KGW's Pat Doris has a roundup for us.
On what should be a busy Monday in January, 3 Portland public high schools stand quiet, closed for the day while teachers prepare for online learning. Students at Cleveland, McDaniel, and Roosevelt high schools all returning to online learning for at least the week and maybe longer. Ockley Green Middle School students will also return to distance learning. And the entire Park Rose School District is also closed for the day and also moving back to online teaching. It's a total of 7,900 students no longer learning face-to-face. State Schools Director Colt Gill warned late last week that COVID would force this change.
The primary reason is that there are too many staff impacted by COVID-19 to be able to operate schools in person. They're either ill or quarantined. This will cause challenges for everyone in that school community.
The Salem-Keizer School District is second largest in the state. It has not gone online. Among its 42,000 students, Salem-Keizer reports 61 with confirmed positive cases and 30 staff members also positive. Beaverton is the third largest district and reports that among its 39,000 students, 730 are isolated, meaning testing positive or showing symptoms of COVID, and another 581 are quarantined, meaning they had close contact with someone who's positive. The district also has 138 staff who are isolated, which is why the district warned parents it may have to move some schools to online learning soon.
There's no specific threshold point. We're taking all these factors into consideration, and it really is going to be decided on a school-by-school basis.
It's not something anyone wants to do.
Our top priority is to keep children in school for in-person instruction. That's a lesson we've clearly learned over the last 2 years, that children do better academically, socially, emotionally when they're here at school.
For comparison, Portland, with 49,000 students, is the largest district in the state. It has 813 students isolated, 565 quarantined, along with 165 staff isolated and 72 staff quarantined.
State lawmakers are closely watching the staffing crisis in Oregon public schools. They hope to tackle the issue during their legislative session next month. State Senator Michael Dembro put together about 50 people to work on short-term solutions to the crisis. They've been discussing problems such as a lack of substitutes and special ed teachers. Many of the proposed solutions require spending more money to raise pay, forgive loans, and reduce teacher licensing fees. But spending money requires legislative action, which of course takes time.
I'm not sure how much in the way of dollars could happen right away. Some of the other, non-financial things could, I think happen right away.
An example of a non-financial solution is eliminating required paperwork so educators can spend more time with students or planning with other teachers. The legislature will have to approve any financial proposals. If a bill is approved next month, the extra money could get to districts by spring or maybe summer.
Well, some Vancouver schools are going back to distance learning, so let's take a look at the impacted schools. Now, the schools we're talking about here will rotate, having 4 days of remote learning over the course of a week. This week, Fort Vancouver High School and McLaughlin Middle School will go with distance learning. Next week, it's Columbia River and Skyview High Schools, along with Alki, Jason Lee, and Jefferson Middle Schools. Now, even on remote learning days, school cafeterias and libraries will still be open if any student needs internet access or simply a place to study. They're also offering grab-and-go meals for students to pick up. The district says it hopes to have all students back to in-person learning by next month. We have more information about the schedule changes for Portland and Vancouver area schools in an article on our website, kgw.com.
Insurance companies will cover the cost of at-home COVID tests starting this Saturday. The Biden administration announced the change yesterday, saying private health insurers will be required to cover up to 8 tests per month for people on their plans. They only have to reimburse you for tests you bought on or after January 15th, but some insurers may choose to cover at-home tests purchased earlier.
Well, a new law in effect this year protects people from those surprise medical bills. So when you go to the hospital, you may be treated by a doctor who accepts your insurance. But if someone else were to walk in the room to help who isn't in network, you are likely to end up with a separate bill from that provider. So this new federal law requires providers to give that information more clearly up front.
When you go to a hospital, you just assume everybody, quote, works for the hospital. And that's just not the case. Those providers and those healthcare systems have to figure out how to appropriately work together, but without moving that expense onto the consumer.
The out-of-network pitfalls are still there, but the transparency is now supposed to get better. Insurance experts say always ask up front what the cost of your care is, what's covered in network, and if any out-of-network services are involved that could add to your cost.
We came to Leavenworth, Washington for an after-holiday getaway. And within 12 hours, we were in the middle of the biggest snowstorm they've had in 25 years.
We're talking about a couple's story here, a snow-filled story involving a trip to Leavenworth, Washington. That story has now gone viral on TikTok. So the tourist town, a lot of you are familiar with it, I'm sure, came to a virtual standstill over the weekend thanks to record-breaking snow. It actually started last Thursday when Leavenworth reported 36 inches of snow in less than 24 hours. In some spots, some microclimates actually got up to 48 inches. So that left Brittany Clark Hargraves and Corey Hargraves stranded. The idea behind the whole trip was a romantic getaway.
We got there that night, the locals were chattering that this is going to be a big storm. And so we kind of thought, oh no, what did we get ourselves into?
You know, you should worry when the locals start to get worried.
That's an excellent point. Brittany and Corey say they were able to travel back home to Olympia Sunday night after the mountain passes reopened in the area. 48 inches of snow, Rod, in some spots in the span of just 24 hours.
Now, they weren't complaining, right? Because what's more romantic, Drew, than being stranded in a snowstorm?
I was thinking the same thing, Rod.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
You got the fresh linens, you get the little chocolates every night, hopefully.
You just need to be with the right person, that's all.
Well, that's true. You know, think about last Thursday, Friday. That's when we had that flooding up around Chehalis, and a lot of that rain that also came into Clatsop County. Well, when he jumped over the Washington Cascades, that was all snow, and that's how much it produced. Wow. All right. Lots of talk lately about atmospheric rivers. It's not a new term, but it is a term that a lot of people have fallen in love with lately. So this is a front coming in today. It's actually a kind of a push of warm air, but notice how it's kind of elongated. We're going to get this little bubble of rain this morning, and then this lifts up to the north. More typical concern for an atmospheric river, you'd have it more elongated. The whole fetch would just be shooting into us for a period of a good 24 hours. This is mostly light stuff inland right now, but it's really picking up across the area. So a wet start to our day. Futurecast shows, here we are 8 o'clock this morning, that later this morning, this starts to shift up to the north, the warmer push of air coming in. To me, it's uncertain whether or not Longview has most of the rain just north of you folks, and Castle Rock, good morning to you, or if you're kind of in that for a rainy afternoon. You're right on the line where you could be really wet up there this afternoon, or the rain's just to your north. For the rest of us, the showers coming in this morning, and then really lots of dry time later today. 56 in Astoria right now. There are gusty south winds at the beach right now. We're in the 40s up and down I-5. And by the way, at the coast today, south winds gusting to around 40 miles per hour. Not enough for any advisories or warnings, but kind of a blustery day. Portland hits 53. We're totally dry. 56 tomorrow. Notice this mild temperature trend. Some rain Wednesday night, Thursday, and then 50s and dry into the weekend. By the way, 41 in Hood River today. That's a nice warm up for you folks. Back to you.
Thank you, Rod. Well, too much rain in too short of time. It's triggering landslides here and around the world. What climate scientists say that we can do to mitigate these disasters in the future. And the PCR test is considered the gold standard for diagnosing COVID. But can it actually catch an infection months after a positive result? Our Verify team looked into it. That's coming up after the break.